Hello and welcome to the post game of the Masters mod. Now before we get into it, I want to give out a quick couple thank yous. First off, Burke at Dansgo8, because he's kind of the FF10 guy. He's the one who introduced me to this mod just watching him. And as of now, I'm about to overtake him on his playthrough. So if you want to watch more of a blind, more of a beta test sort of playthrough, then I highly recommend watching him. And then also in the comments, you'll actually see Carifian, who is the guy who made this wonderful mod, usually pinned in the comments. So if you want any dev commentary, then you can definitely check out that channel and those comments. I'd also like to thank Thysanoptera and Decade C9K for being around since the beginning and, sticking around. This being my first and probably only YouTube experience, but hey, thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope that you and anyone else will, enjoy the rest. But yeah, seeing you guys in the comments, they really make my day. Thanks. Now, back to the agenda for today. So if you talk to the arena quest guy, then he'll actually kind of lay out the basic roadmap. He'll say that you want to go pick up Yojimbo now, and then maybe do some of the optional bosses before going into maybe the Omega Ruins and the Crazy Aeons, or the Dark Aeons. But at the end of the day, really it's just, you can do any of the bosses in any order that you like. It's just obviously Pennance or the Seraph is going to be last, because that only unlocks after all the Aeons. But instead of going for Yojimbo, I'm actually going to go for all things Anima. But before I can pick her up myself, I have to go through Geoscaeno. Now, since it's the last underwater fight, we're forced into Titus, Waka, and Riku, and for sure you need to make sure that they all have stone proof. Then, if they just so happen to have death proof from prepping from the Unalesca fight, that's even better. Of course, first priority is just surviving. So if you can get Shell or Protect on your people, then that's great, because then they won't get one shot, because his attacks are basically just, if you get hit at full strength without any buffs, then you're going down. But his attack pattern is predictable. He'll hit everybody with a punch, and then do a Watera, hit the highest HP person with a sleep, and then try to eat the highest HP person. But that last part is the really important bit. If he does eat somebody while they're sleeping, then they're gone. They're just out of the party, completely digested, and they're done. But he'll also copy the statuses, so you can give him positive buffs and negative debuffs based off of who he eats. Naturally, Waka has the highest HP, and he also has access to Drain, so he's probably going to be the target, and I take full advantage of that. Now what I do is I have Waka hit himself with Magic Break, and I have Riku poison him. Not only that, but I have it so that he is the only one of the three that are not hasted. This is especially good because if it just so happens that he doesn't get his turn before he gets eaten or completely digested, then Titus can usually throw out a delay attack. That way he can actually get the struggle and get spit out. The only thing is, once he does get spit out, it'll do whoever's in the stomach's current HP, and it'll do that damage to everybody. So yeah, whoever gets targeted for the consume is definitely KO'd, and you have to make sure that everyone else is healthy enough to survive that. So the fight really becomes a big part of HP management, both to determine who gets targeted, and then also to make sure that the party survives when they escape. Now, he does rotate through the Stone Punch and then the Knockout Punch. Now, obviously you need Stone Proof to survive that, and that's super vital, because otherwise you get shattered and you get ejected from the game, or you're one party member down for the rest of the fight. And then there's also Death Proof that can help out with KO Punch, but really that's not as important. It's just kind of nice to not have to reapply the buffs. But either way, you still need either Protect or a Power Break in order to survive those punches. And then also a Shell or a Magic Break in order to survive the Water Gun. Now, lucky for me, I actually taught Waka both Power and Magic Break. So once he gets eaten a couple times, we're pretty much in the clear when it comes to survival. We just have to make sure that the HP is managed well enough so that way we can survive, and that Waka is the one that gets targeted. Now, this fight is really interesting because Geoscaeno has really high defenses, so really the only way to damage him consistently right off the bat is Demi, but I mean, you'd have to teach individually someone. Even though I have it on Titus with his half MP, Titus really doesn't have a lot of MP to begin with. So it would take a lot to demi down that HP pool. And then even after you get to a lower HP, then, I mean, it has diminishing returns. So you will see me demiing with Titus and copycatting with Riku for some good damage, but that's not really the main strategy here. The poison's really our main damage dealer here. Now, piercing armor on a Waka isn't that great, and unfortunately we don't get any AP. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of okay since you could potentially get shattered, but really for this fight the big reward is the frag grenades, because now we have 2 cases of energy preserver, which will make it very good for not getting debuffed into oblivion, and also being able to constantly have overdrive. But after restocking some items, the next fight that we are going to jump right back into is crazy Anima herself. Now, if you're wondering how I'm going to deal 2.6 million HP with only Auron having break damage limit, then stay tuned. Now for prep, other than items, we're going to really only make 2 weapons. A blind and poison strike for Kamari with a little bit of element for some damage. This is just to make sure that we can get statuses without having to rely on MP. And then we have a whole lot of elemental damage on Auron, because Anima, as you saw, was weak to everything. Now again, this fight is awesome. Everything that you put on Anima, whether it's a buff or a debuff, will be on your entire party. And that also kind of counts for the party where you can't really individually buff or debuff your own people either. Not only that, but basically if anything that Anima hits you with connects at full power, you're gonna go down. So the first priority, of course, being survivability, we want to magic break, and then we also want to blind her. Now the magic break will help us all survive the Mega Graviton, and the blind will help the party survive the normal attack, because now it hits everybody, and it hits really hard. Then we can cast Reflect on her so that the elemental spells can actually do some pretty decent damage, and you know, it's not damage coming towards us anymore, so that's great. Then finally we can apply an armor break, so that way Auron's mega damage can do even more damage, and Kamari can almost hit the damage limit when he does the reapplication of blind and poison. Now, just as an FYI, a triple elemental Auron with break damage limit and armor break on the Anima will do 29,000 damage. But then also a poison will do 51,000 damage. So with the current state of affairs, really as long as the party is above half HP and Anima's blind, the only thing that can really hurt us is a Holy. Because that's the one spell that Anima is smart enough to not get reflected back at it. Then of course there's Pain, which yeah, you can't really do anything about Pain. Even if you have a death proof, it does an insane amount. But HP management is easier said than done because the poison does chip away at us every turn as well. Now, one thing that I tried was zombifying and then regenning Anima, but yeah, that HP management was a little too tough because really, if you cure the zombify, then she'll start regenning and healing again. But then also the ticks on your guys is pretty tough. So poison I think is the best. Not only that, but you can't really rely on your MP skills or magic or anything to really bail you out too much, because if you have somebody come out and get hit by the Oblivion, well, luckily Oblivion doesn't actually take anyone out. It reduces everything to 1 HP and 1 MP. So that's a good thing that you don't have to worry about the knockout, but it is a bad thing where, yeah, you can't rely on your MP at all if you get unlucky with the rotation. Now, once Anima gets to half HP, she'll cast Mega Doom, and that does make things a little bit scary, because now you have a little bit more to worry about in terms of turn management. It's not the worst, because really, again, when that Holy comes at you, then that, or at least with my strategy, whoever gets hit by that's going down. So we're not really synced on the death counter too often, but it is something that can make it a little bit awkward. So not only does it become a HP management to make sure everyone's above half, but it also is a little bit of a turn management, because you want Anima to get as many turns as possible, so that way you can get that really chunky poison damage off on her. But you want to make sure that if somebody's going to get low, then that way they can at least switch in for maybe a Riku or a Yuna, throw an Albed Potion or a Mega Potion, just to keep everybody over half HP. So in terms of turn management, if everybody's in good HP, then I'll just try to make sure that Anima gets, maybe if they get their 2 turns in a row, that's not too bad. But when it comes down to, somebody's in the yellow, then I'll definitely want to make sure that there are 2 people able to respond. Because if Anima does a Holy or a Pain and knocks one of them out, then that way at least we'll have the other one that can respond. Now you'll see that when it comes down to turns that I have like 3 or so before Anima's, I'll try to throw a Remedy out so that way I can not get the poison damage. Maybe throw Orin in to get a quick hit off on it, and then have Kamari reapply the poison and blind. Waka, Riku, and Titus all have access to alchemy. I got an alchemy drop for Titus on a random weapon or a boss drop, but yeah, Waka and Riku should just have alchemy from their starting kit, or something that you can just buy. Only thing is this fight will really it'll burn through a lot of your items fast if you don't really have a strategy to take her down. Now, on the last turn, I did end up getting Titus downed, and then Anima went down to poison before I could revive him. I mean, in the play-by-play, I could have actually switched to Waka to revive Riku instead. So, my pride doesn't want me to keep this, but I mean, it was the last turn. Please give me some slack there. But that's one fight down, and we actually can level up from this one. Not only that, but we have a lot of Lunar and Light Curtains, so definitely good to replace the ones that we lost in the Geoscaeno fight. And then I get a godly drop of Auto Shell, Auto Protect weapon on Orin. Now, again, the Auto Protect, Auto Shell weapon is good on pretty much anybody, but I mean, it's funny because I'm thinking that I'm gonna phase Orin out, but this with a combination of the auto regen armor that he has is just insane. If I combine this with that energy preserver on a new armor and give him regen and counterattack again, it's we'll just never die in Sentinel and we'll just keep countering. It's great. Really, when it comes to the level ups, the really only big thing is Titus is unlocking Yuna's, so that way he can get to the delay buster. And other than that, everyone's keeping on their track. So Riku is dipping a toe into Lulu's to get a little bit more MP. Lulu's going to Riku so she can get a lot faster and get some HP. And then Yuna is on the end of her road so she gets Holy. But that'll be it for today. Thanks again for dropping by, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you will continue to enjoy the road down to Pennance, or the Seraph. So, again, if you liked the video, I like your face. Bye-bye.